Yes, how good does it feel to hear that chant again? Because once again, we can indeed chant it loud and proud because we have retained the championship by hook or by crook. There was a wee point this season where it was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. But we've done it successfully. We are once again champions. And yes, tonight's Friday feeling. I'm sure lots of us have got that Friday feeling tonight because, yes, it is trophy day tomorrow. It's sunny Celtic Park. And if sources are to be believed, it's going to be very sunny in the East End of Glasgow tomorrow at the stadium. So cannot wait for that. Cannot wait to get into tonight's show. Been buzzing since Wednesday night. Oh, what a performance. What a way to wrap it up, doing a bit of style. And yes, as you can see, folks, the usual Friday night team have joined me tonight. Michael, I'm sure you've got that Friday feeling, mate.
Definitely. Been a good week, isn't it? Enjoyed Wednesday night and enjoyed last Saturday, obviously. So just come to the last league game of the season and just look forward to a party after it. It's been a long season, so look forward to just enjoying it for the last week.
Oh, indeed. The weird thing was last season you had a World Cup spliced in the middle of it, and that made it a long season. But this one has felt like a longer season. There's been no World Cup in the middle of it. But yeah, we're finally there. One more league game to go, and then another massive game next week as well. But Liam, Canada's favourite Tim, the wise man of the bus, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Doing good, Phil. What a week, man. Hey, do you remember last week on the bus, or maybe it was the week before, we were talking about the start of this 5 games, these 5 games that we had to win, and how we were going to do it in style. And he just kept saying that the number 5 just keeps coming up. Somehow it's going to be a number 5 when we were talking predicting the games. And there we are, 5 goals. What a performance. Brilliant. Great way to start the week, and going into this next game is just a nice tune-up. And God, it's just, this is what you love to see as a fan from around the world and all that, is when you watch that final game, you're watching everything that's going on in the stands, all the players on the park and all that. And I hope we get a really long feed. Sometimes Celtic TV shuts that stuff off, too early. So I hope we get that. And we're back in the club tomorrow as well. So that'll be me back out in the middle of the night going to watch it. But best way I'd have it, because I haven't seen all the guys in a while, and that's when you want to celebrate with all your old pals and friends you've made over the years.
Yeah, man, definitely. It's going to be fun tomorrow. Fun being the opportune word. It's been the word of the month, essentially. It's been the one that has been flying around, and I'm sure tomorrow will be that. But before we get into talk about tomorrow's game, and obviously the game through the week, and just things in general this season, because I think we'll have a wee look back on some of the key moments along the way, because but it's Friday night after all, and Friday night and me, it's usually time traveling is usually associated with me on this channel, so we'll probably do a wee bit of reminiscing about some of the stuff that's happened this season. But of course, while we do all that, folks, hit that like button, help us out in the old algorithm, of course, get involved in our comment section tonight, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. I think 4,670 something, I think it was. It's something around that one. So we're still looking at 5,000 maybe by the end of the calendar year. But either way, we're very thankful if you have hit that subscribe button so far. Thanks a lot. And if you haven't done so yet, keep us on your life that little bit longer and hit subscribe and hit the bell notification. We know the bus will be on the road. And of course, you can share the link of the Bhoycie Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform tickles your fancy. And of course, head over to piesports.com, that logo that's up there next to Michael, and use code BUS1888 and get 12.5% off your tasty pastry treats. I had to say that really slowly there, a bit of a tongue twister. But yes, all that said and done. Yeah, well, let's start with the most recent game then on Wednesday night. We had to obviously just secure a point to get the title. Very similar to a couple of years ago with the scenario we had, where we went up to Tannadice, second last game of the season, 6 points in front, just needed a point. We did get the point that night, but tonight it was like, nah, we're not going to just settle for a point, Michael. We're just going to go all out. And there was a wee bit of worry. Not even a wee bit of worry. I say quite a bit of worry from a lot of fans, because again, it was that Kilmarnock game, that plastic pitch. It was a concern for many fans. So we've had some shockers down there this season. And to be fair, Brendan's first spell in charge, there was a few shockers down at Kilmarnock as well. But couldn't have went about it in a better way. It was very, very reminiscent, I felt, to 2012. We went down there and wrapped up the title. We won 6-0. We blew them away in the first half. And yeah, that's what it was on Wednesday night. I mean, the first 3 goals were all the same sort of ilk, just a ball across the goal and a tap-in, essentially. And but the football was fantastic. And yeah, just piling on the agony, putting on the style, and we certainly did do it with a bit of style on Wednesday night, Michael.
I know, I felt that was brilliant. It was good to see. I think we started like that for the first whistle, and we never really let up for the 90 minutes. And I know what Roger said. They played Idah, and they went a bit more direct and got players forward to play off him. So we played a lot quicker in the back of that. And for the first whistle, we just looked on it, I think, the whole night. And every player looked up for it. And you're going to miss Matt Riley next season, aren't we? That's I don't want to dampen the mood, obviously, but he was unbelievable the other night.
Yeah,
so it was good. I remember we flagged up the Kelly game a few weeks ago, saying that it's a potential banana skin if things are tight and everything. But I think after the result last Saturday, I had no fear all week about Kelly. I knew we were. But I didn't imagine 5-0 right off. Don't get it wrong, but I just had no fear before the game. I thought the players looked on it last Saturday as well, and I just think the mentality looked right. I knew we were going to turn up with Kelly and just we're going to go for it and win the last 2 games in the league. And it was just good to see that football and the pace we're playing it, and the players looked as if they were enjoying it for a change. Sometimes this season it's not always looked like that. You know what I mean? And it just shows what this team's capable of. Like the football is brilliant tonight. It was every player looked on it. And even like it's a convenient excuse at times, right? But the pitch obviously, and to be fair, it's a valid excuse. But I just think every player looked up for it all night, and they looked as if they wanted to go out and win it convincingly, and not just get a draw or get the point we needed. To go out and prove a point.
Yeah,
to everybody show why we're champions. And I think we've done that, and we'll set us up for a good day tomorrow, obviously, if we get the trophy and just have a party day. Then we'll worry about the next week. Next week, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's just about we get the trophy and have a party after it, and I can't wait for it.
Oh, it's going to be fantastic. And yeah, we Wednesday night there, Liam, it was, just like get that hoodie off the back as well. I think Terry touched on PMP last week, I think it was, after the Rangers game, just saying this Kelly game, you don't want to drop points and then you go into next season when the next game at Rugby Park rolls around and it's, that's what the media will focus in on. It might be in the players' heads. It was good to just exercise the demons of Rugby Park, as he'd done it in absolute style. And there's one man that I think we need to touch on, Liam, right away. And Graham Tyrrell has a singled out in his comment. Idah was great. I thought Adam that was the best performance he's put in a Celtic shirt so far. And I see last night that Norwich City were not successful in their playoff venture. They got absolutely walloped off of Leeds United. So they're not going to the Premier League. I know they are obviously going to have a new manager very soon. So there is obviously a chance that the new manager may look at Idah, look at what he's done here and think, maybe I could use him, maybe sit down with him in the summer, because Celtic did not negotiate any guaranteed fee to sign him. There's just a lot of rumours flying around, a lot of numbers. But right now, I would say that he should be a high priority signing for Celtic, because he's came in this 6-month spell under a bit of a cloud. A lot of fans were obviously not too happy about it, and not the boys' fault at all. The circumstances in January were quite toxic for the way things were going. But he's came in, he's scored some very vital goals, Liam. And I think on Wednesday night, he showed what he can give to us. I thought he was absolutely fantastic the whole time he was on the park. He just didn't let the Kilmarnock defence settle at all. He was involved in so much. So for me, I hope Celtic... I said to be famous last words. I hope Celtic conduct their business early, man. I really do hope that. But I would really like to think that Brendan Rodgers and the board are looking at that performance and what he's given. You like to think Brendan's been in his ear saying, look, we'll sit down in summer and try and get something sorted. But for me, I think he's a priority signing, Liam. But overall, just general, one, do you agree on that one? And two, how good do you feel Idah was on Wednesday night as well?
So, totally agree about Wednesday night. Wednesday night, I thought he was outstanding. He had that power Rodgers talks about in his teams. Having that power up front. It reminded me a bit of Gigi, Samaras, like our Greek contingent, Viduka. But powerful, strikers that like to big stride in that, but also can control the ball. When the ball's put up in the air, can sort of not only bring it down, but hold it enough to either turn the guy or pass it off. I think that's what brought O'Reilly into the game so much. And being able to take that ball out of the sky, where it normally just gets headed back in and the midfielder fighting. No, it wasn't coming back as quick. And if it was bouncing into areas where our midfielders could run onto a ball, which is part of your strength. So, yeah, I thought it looked absolutely fantastic coming on there. A priority signing at this point. I don't know, man. We fall in love too fast at Celtic. Honestly, are we going to do this again? Are we going to do this again? Can we not just see who else is out there? It's a wide world, right? I looked at him when he came on in the Rangers game, in a 2-1 game, where we could have, an extra goal would have cruised it for us.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't look like a priority signing on that. Not yet. And it's a different game with different pressure. Big one, once all the pressure's off and the team's playing like the Hart Globetrotters, and all of a sudden, Alistair Johnston's whipping balls across, and all the things that are happening. It's a lot different. When you're playing Rangers and we need to go 2-1 or 2-2 or something. And I've not seen that for him yet. His ability to come in and win is a big, big game. I know everyone Dundee scored goals for us and that, but I'm talking on a consistent basis, the same way spending on a Moussa Dembele or even Giacomakis and that as well. So I don't know. Let's see what he's like in the next 2 games. I think then we look at whether we want to sign him. Right now, he looks like he's auditioning for us, but he's had a long time to do that, and he might just be finding his way to connect with the players. Over we're getting a start and building up a strong relationship as the game builds. So it'd be good to see him start tomorrow, get a full game there, and make our decisions on that. I mean, he doesn't need to be rested or anything like that. He's not our player, so let's look at tomorrow and see how he fills it up playing with some of the not first choice players, and see how good he stands out in that team.
Yeah, I think there's a good chance he does start tomorrow. I don't think there's any harm in it at all, and I think it's a good chance to get him a full, not a full 90 minutes, but he could be on for a good while because the league's won. I still think, regardless of what we field tomorrow, we're going to win. I think the atmosphere will just be buzzing from start to finish. I think we'll just do something we've done quite a lot on Trophy Day. Let's be honest, been many games in recent years on Trophy Day where we've just blown the opposition team away. Just turned up. It's like a nice exhibition on a nice sunny day. I remember us beating like Motherwell. What was it? 5-0 or something in Angie's first season. There was a 7-0 game against Motherwell as well, and was it Ronnie's second season? Yeah, second season title. I remember us beating Hearts 5-0 on Trophy Day, and Gary Hooper scored all the goals. And yeah, we beat Aberdeen 5-0 on Trophy Day last season, so we tend to always put on a bit of an exhibition. So I think tomorrow will be no different. And yeah, if he starts, then and if he puts in a performance again, scores a few goals, might give Brendan some food for thought for the cup final, obviously next week, because that's the one that I think any player who is kind of on the periphery tomorrow that does get a chance, that's the goal at the end of it for them to try and get themselves into that cup final team. But there is something you said there, Liam, about talk about Idah that I'm going to pick up on here. You said about him scoring big goals and whatnot, and in the end, the way it's worked out, he has scored some big ones when you actually look at the way the league's panned out and how close it was at the end. I mean, you figure that Hibs won the last-minute winner against Hibs at Easter Road. I know they were both penalties, but hey, we are shocking at penalties, let's be honest. And it took a cool head that night to score that last-minute penalty. And obviously there was a game against Motherwell, which I think was literally the next week, if I remember correctly, or within like 10 days of it, where we were drawing 1 each and he popped up with 2 goals in stoppage time. But yeah, they're big goals. And of course, a game that we sat here and we were quite gutted about it, I remember, was obviously the draw with Rangers, because we felt the way the game panned out. Because when you look at going into a game at Ibrox, normally you'd always say, I'll happily take a draw at Ibrox. It's a fair enough assessment. It's always a difficult place to go because the cauldron of hatred that it is essentially. It can be a really intense atmosphere. But of course, the way that game panned out, going 2-0 up and cruising that first half, second half, we were all over the place. But he did, of course, score a goal a few minutes to go. And while, yes, we didn't go on and win it, in the end, that game and that goal has been crucial because, Michael, as Cal McGregor said on Wednesday night, it was after that game and getting that point that the team started to really sort of, and the thing is, you look at it, they've won all the games since then, but that's when Cal McGregor highlighted on Wednesday night and says that was the one when they sort of started to believe that, right, we've got over, that's going to be the hardest hurdle, really, on this run-in, going to Ibrox. We've came away unscathed. Yeah, they probably should have won the game. They could have won the game. They were in a good position a couple of times, but ultimately, Callum McGregor said that was the game that they came away from. So Idah did obviously score a goal in the end that was that did turn out to be crucial. But I say ultimately, we'll wait and see. I can understand what you're saying, though, Liam, about the Idah thing, because there is a few people in the chat, though, have said that it's a real conflicted one. There's been a few bit mixed chat so far. Some people have said if we take a random punt, what if we end up with somebody like a Jetty and stuff like that? So it's a tough one at the moment. But I say, for me personally, I'm on the fence of go for it, or on the side of the fence of get him. Liam, you're more maybe wait and see. What about you, Michael, when it comes to Idah and his contributions? And where do you stand right now? Get him or wait and see what's out there?
I wouldn't go and get him right away. I kind of understand what Liam's saying. Like, it's a long summer and see what's out there first. But I would take him as not a top target, basically, but as a third striker. I would take him in a heartbeat if I'm going to try and get somebody better. Like, I would take him with the squad. I think we need to get back to having 3 strikers again.
Yeah.
I think the board have played office. Like, I don't want to be a negative starter to talk about the board again. I know quite partial to that, but like we've had Idah, who you've said that is a third choice standing. You can play up front. We need to get back to having 3 strikers again. That's what all big comes to. 3 strikers. We've got the money now, so there's no excuse. But I would like it. I like it. I think he's been brilliant for his come in. I really think he has. He surpassed my expectations, to be honest. He's scored big goals and he's made a big contribution to us winning the league this season. But I would hold off at the minute. I'm going to jump in right away and sign him, and that would be only signing up front. Go to look elsewhere as well and see who's better. And like, there's potentially other targets out there we've not even looked at, to be fair. But I would keep him on the radar anyway, and I would sign him. Ideally, I would sign him as a third striker. I think he's got ability, and I think he will score goals for us. He's only, 23, is he?
He's in his early 20s, aye.
So I think he has got a lot of potential as well. So I would something I would keep tabs on, but I would try and push him out because the amount of money we're going to bring in this summer, and try and push on a bit further and trying to improve all areas of the squad. And I would count up front as that as well. And I like it. It's not even a slight on Idah here. It's just we want to progress to the club and try to become a Champions League club, and we need to start showing some ambition. But by all means, I would sign him as a third striker and then just take it from there, basically, and see what else is out there. Like I said to you before, I would take him and Miovski in one summer. I think I'd be quite happy with that. So I think Miovski's looked good with Aberdeen team, who have been terrible. I think he's young and he's showing enough technique and enough goal scoring ability that he's shown he can go up a few levels as well. I think playing with better players about him, I think he could really kick on. Yep. So I would take Miovski and Idah, but Idah, I've just signed Idah and that's it. Nah, I wouldn't be happy with that. I've got to be honest. Maybe so bad what I'm missing that, but Idah and somebody else I would take, definitely. I do like him.
Yeah, we've got to be looking at having 3 strikers. We play a system that involves 1 centre forward, but we are in a day and age now where there are 9 substitutes on the bench. So, to have 2 strikers available, because not every game your main striker that starts is going to have a good game. So your manager needs to turn to the bench. What can he bring on to turn that around? If he's got 2 striker options there, then and maybe one that's a bit more dynamic where he can slot in maybe out wide. That's that'd be a logical thing. Because we definitely do. Because I think his race is definitely run. A few people are saying that in the chat, saying O's got to be gone, I would imagine. And again, we can sit here now and make our predictions about what we think or what we hope the Celtic board are going to do and what the recruitment team are going to do. But we've learned the hard way. There's no point in getting too deep into it just now because hopefully not. Come the end of the transfer window, we're still sitting here going, where are the signings? Where are they? Because the strikers should be a priority. And again, you'd like to think after the way this season has went, whereas we were in a strong position and we've kind of allowed them back into it. We can't allow that to happen season after season, so we need to go out this summer and make sure we get all the pieces in play. I think Brendan's earned that with what he's been given this season and made it work. I think he's got a right to say to the board, right, come on, you get the checkbook out. This is the players that I want, because I know he comes out and he says all the stuff like, I sign off on all these, I'm really happy with it, but I cannot. I think using my eyes essentially is where it's like, well, if you're happy with them all, how come majority of the signings last summer, none of them are really in the first team these days? Very few of them actually get a start. So it's like, so that doesn't suggest to me that he's a manager that's very happy with the overall recruitment, despite what he may say. So you'd like to think that in the summer, we'll look at something. But these are things that I'm sure we will talk about many times over the next few months before the transfer window closes, which I think will be the end of August, start of September. But of course, tomorrow, Liam, one guy who's going to be definitely centre of attention for many reasons is Joe Hart's final home game at Celtic Park tomorrow, and it goes without saying what a 3 years he's had. What a servant he's been. In football terms, 3 years is quite short these days. It tends to be the sort of average lifespan that we get out of one of our superstar sort of players that we sign before selling them on. But he's came in, ended his career essentially, gave us 3 good years. I say when he first signed, I still maintain this. I feel he was a stopgap signing that's turned out to be good because he signed at the same time as James McCarthy. If you remember, that was just after we lost at Tynecastle. Of course, there was a lot of disillusion in the Celtic support at that time where we'd had that awful season that we try not to speak of. We'd, I think, been knocked out of the Champions League by that point by Midtjylland. And yeah, we lost the first league game of the season at Tynecastle with Scott Bain in goal that day. And a lot of fans were still like, Ange Postecoglou, who is this guy? So then, like 2 days later, we went out and signed James McCarthy and Joe Hart, which at the time, James McCarthy's definitely, that is a bizarre signing now when you look at it. But yeah, Joe Hart, I think, was one of these ones because his name was on a link to us a year before when we signed Barca. So it felt like they've just went and looked at an old list and just been like, who's available, get them in. But my God, when you look at it now, it's going to be emotional when he, when the full-time whistle comes for him, the lap of honour and whatnot. Last week after beating Rangers, the lap of honour, he was absolutely in the moment, loving it. I don't know how much it was picked up on the TV cameras, Liam, when Sky were covering it, but as we were walking around the park, McGregor was getting really into it as the captain should, leading all the crowd. But Joe Hart, guy wears his heart on his sleeve, essentially, no pun intended there, but he does. You can tell how much he's fallen in love with the club, and again, we cannot thank him enough for the last 3 years, can we?
That should be part of our recruitment. When we're out there trying to identify players and goalies and things like that. You saw it when Rogic and Nir Baton left and that as well. The send off these guys get for Celtic support is something like there's no better way to end your career. And I'm not saying that we should become one of these last gap sort of places, but there is special players who I think want to win something. Like Lubo. Lubo's a classic example. They come to Celtic and they want to win something, they want to go out a hero. And in exchange for that, what we get, I think one of the things that helped Ange an awful lot in his first year was he was able to put his messages across that change room, and the guys would look over it and they see someone like Joe Hart taking that in. And that gives him instant credibility as a manager and as a person and as a leader and that sort of stuff, where you got someone like Joe Hart buying wholeheartedly into what you're doing with the career that he's had. Even Japanese players looking across the room at your goalie is recognised that I've seen him in the World Cup, I've seen him in the Euros, I've seen him in Champions League finals and Champions League games. I know his face, and I think that was pivotal in sort of getting the team framework, created in their dressing room. And that, because we do look like we look like the team started to gel again. I think it got a wee bit cliquey for a while by the looks of things, but now it looks like everybody's pulling together. And I think a lot of that as well is because the fact that as soon as Joe Hart announced he was retiring, all the players backed up their game, because I don't think they wanted to go to have to look Joe Hart in the face and say, okay, you're retiring, losing the league, you're retiring that. I think it was a part of pride and principle as well for actually playing with a guy like Joe Hart every day and what they learn from and that. There's no way they could let that man down by losing the league. And so I think he's brought a real good credibility to the club again. Despite what the board does and what we think of him, the optics facing outward, show that we're a club, that is a family, and once they embrace and they take to you, you become a hero. And Joe Hart, he deserves a hero send off more than any of the other ones we've had recently, because I think he really got it. And it's too bad Ange didn't stick around. He could have got a send off like that.
Big time. Yeah, little did we know at the cup final last year, we were giving him a send-off, although a lot of people did sort of detect it. I was still surprised. I really was. I just felt like an English Premier League team, I just don't know, a team like Tottenham just wouldn't do it. Because again, I know the reaction that their fan bases have towards Scottish football. So for me, when I kept hearing, I just went, I just can't see it. I don't know, man. And well, Ange's been making headlines this week with his opinions on his current employers, but hey, he's not our manager anymore. But it's quite interesting we've seen the English media talk about he doesn't understand rivalry. Did you see what City was managing in the last 2 seasons? But anyway, I digress. Well, let's talk about a few things there. So, Michael, that Liam picked up on was talking about the run that we've had since, funny enough, Joe Hart's announced his retirement. It does feel like the team has really, pushed on and up the game. But, of course, the season, it's a long season. We've been obviously going at it since August, and there's also been some key results along the way and just wee moments as well that can sometimes go, easily forgotten. And one of the ones that the other day, somebody reminded me of it, and I was like, Jesus, man, that's so true. You think back to Ange's first season, right? And a guy that many people talk about, a pure pivotal moment was when Anthony Ralston scored a late goal up at Dingwall. We beat Ross County 2-1. It was a game that kept us just in the title race going into the sort of turn of the year because we were about 6 points behind. And yeah, we were just trying to hang on to Rangers' coattails at that point. But I totally forgot about this. I can remember the game at Easter Road. I can remember Adam Idah scoring the penalty in the last minute. But there was something that happened involving Anthony Ralston just before the penalty where something that John Lundstrom couldn't do last week, where there was a ball that was there to be won, a 50-50. And of course, John Lundstrom timed it wrong, but Anthony Ralston found himself in a similar situation at that night at Easter Road, going for the 50-50 the house player. And he timed that slide tackle to perfection. Obviously, it led to the pass that led to the ball into Kyogo, who got his shot away and, of course, was fouled in the process. VAR reviewed it. It was a foul. It was in the box. So it was a penalty. But that wee moments like that, everyone remembers the goals. Everyone remembers all that stuff. But even just wee moments with Anthony Ralston, just that commitment to win that ball as time was elapsing on us. Because, again, we dropped points there. And especially that was around about a time we'd drawn with Aberdeen. We'd drawn at home to Kilmarnock. And yeah, so it was like the pressure was really on that night. And yeah, just wee moments like that. But outside of that, and any other moments that stand out for you along the way that have just been like really significant, that have just come to mind just now?
That you talked about Ralston that night. He had no right to win that ball. Like, it was nowhere near it, and it wasn't even a 60-40 in his favour. It was if anything, it was like maybe 70-30 in Hibs players' favour. And just showing that desire at that time of the game to go and win it and show that attitude, that bit of fight was phenomenal. I know it's easy to pin. It's an easy thing to say, but I think the way we showed up every game against him this season in the derby, they're pivotal. I know it's an easy thing to obviously pinpoint because that's the games that they tend to win the league. But first game of the season, Ibrox. Do you remember we got into that game? We were totally written off.
Yep.
The Bills was this messiah apparently. He's messiah last season as well apparently, but he just came in too late and needed his own players in. Once he get his own players in, that was going to be him. He's going to overtake Ange. And I think Barry Ferguson even said that, didn't he? He said Michael Beale's get Ange Postecoglou's number. Wait till next season. Their fan base are basically saying wait till he gets his own players in. Then we played him in the first game of the season with Laga, Bielka and Scales. The centre back. We hosted our injuries as well, and we turned up and beat them 1-0. They absolutely imploded. And again, like the game in December, remember we had that many injuries. And Clermont was a new genius, apparently. They were turning up to show us a lesson and starting their authority in the league on the 30th of December. And what happened again? We turned up like we always do in the games. We beat them. Brilliant goal with Bernardo at first, and then Kyogo's goal was utterly ridiculous. I've never seen a goal like that. Like, I've seen better goals, you know what I mean? But just the way came deep and turned and top corner effort, and we've got him. I even thought the game at Ibrox after that. I said to before the game that we'd win it. I thought at midweek, I just felt we had them mentally. We've got big players that turn up in games like that, but McGregor, O'Reilly, Maida as well now, I would say, and Joe Hart, Cameron Carter-Vickers, players are not to turn up and win the games that matter. And we come to the tail end of the season, I would say from maybe start of April to now, I just had that feeling about the team that we've been in this since before. We've got that Hart mentality.
Yeah.
We can turn up and win it. We win when we have to win it. We don't win leagues in February like them. Remember in February time, I think the Sun, I know it's daft quote the Sun, but it just showed the mentality in the country at the time that they posted a headline. They beat Kilmarnock at Rugby Park, and the headline was "Catch us if you can."
That's right.
But that was the narrative at the time was they were miles ahead of us. Forget we were champions at the time. And we still had the big players in the squad. So I thought the games against them this season and from maybe April onwards, I just thought, well, I think we've got their number. They're big players fold that comes to the business end of the season. Yeah. They've not got the mentality to turn up and win their games like that when their players need them. They don't. They're serial losers. And I just felt if we went touching distance become the end of the season, our big players were short when it mattered. And that's exactly what happened. We turned up the Derby game, they turned up to the end of the season. Yeah. And the champions mentality took over. And I think we've just proven why we're champions in the last few weeks.
Yeah, without doubt. It's interesting as well that Brendan Rodgers also made a comment in the post-match on Wednesday night. I think it was one of the interviews with Sky or maybe with the Club Zone TV channel. But I remember him getting interviewed and he said something about, we don't make daft comments, and the way they come across, they're very loud, very boisterous, very overexcited when they get into the top spot and whatnot. And it's definitely backed up by the media. But it always feels like when a Celtic player or manager does sort of break rank and does say something, they usually mean it, and it's always done in a really cold manner. You remember Giakoumakis, he had Ryan Jack absolutely, as I would say, Ryan Jack, the man who stares at his shoes. There was that embarrassing press conference he did after Giakoumakis the week before. He said, we're going to win the league. We weren't even top of the league, I think, at that point, or we were neck and neck. It was pretty close anyway, and it was still February when he said that. Then Ryan Jack the next week is sitting staring at his shoes. We felt so disrespected. Then, of course, the game happened at Ibrox and there was that tackle and he's right up in Ryan Jack's face, essentially, look at me. That as he's I guess, totally mugging him off. And then remember earlier that season as well, there was a game we won. I think I want to say we won it at Motherwell, and Tom Rogic was getting interviewed after the game and he went, "We've been the top team for the last decade." And it was just so cold the way he delivered it. It was just like, it was just nothing to him. And again, of course, they get up in arms about it, but he's right. He was totally right. And that has continued even this season as well. I say they've been mouthing off. They've been doing their wee tweets and TikTok videos and whatever they've been saying. But again, we have just been calmly waiting to pounce. And the other night, of course, Dyson Maeda, of course, predicted it. He said that we will be champions tomorrow. And he was bang on the money with that one, done in some style. But we'll go on to what Michael's talking about there, Liam talked about that, the games against them, because obviously that is the bread and butter. And end of the day, we won 3, we drew 1. I think some of the best football we played this season was in games against them, bar a second half at Ibrox and the recent 3-3 game. I think over the piece we did have their number, so at the end of the day, I don't think they can really complain. Our Achilles heel this season was against all the other teams, so that was a problem for us. But in those games there, we just did the business, and and as James Murdoch has said, and it's true, and Michael picked up on it, we were written off in the 4 games by Rangers in the media, and it's true. It's so true. It's quite crazy. Again, we're this team, this club, who consistently deliver season after season. Bar one blip, an anomaly, a glitch in the matrix in the last decade or whatever, that we had in the COVID season, but the whole world was a glitch in the matrix that year. And it wasn't just in Scottish football. You look at some of the other leagues as well and some of the anomalies that happened there. It's just one of these things. But we consistently deliver. But this always seems to be this push from the media and say from them on the other side of the city, that they think that, we're washed up, we're finished. Dave King's infamous words years ago, all we need is one title and Celtic will fold like a house of cards. Well, let's look at the maths since that quote and since that one title that they got. Celtic then won a double the next season, a treble the next season, and we're staring down the barrel of winning another double. So this house of cards seems to be standing pretty strong right now, Liam, but it's now par for the course for them, isn't it?
These are cards for a magic shop, Phil. These are tough cards. These ones all connect together,
Yep.
Yeah, that's momentum, right? That's winners. That's momentum. Yeah, the COVID season, my God, that was a glitch for everything, So don't count that. I mean, you count it. No, I'm not being petulant that way, but no, it's we've built a team of winners. You know, the House of Cards comments for the media and that. Well, it's the hope it kills them. They've got they have to have some sort of contrast. They have to create a story that somehow that change is about to happen and all that, and that's what keeps them interested. If they start saying, "Oh, nobody's going to touch Celtic" and here and that, they'll not be interested. And I don't know, they seem to get hyped up and they very much believe their own media and they contribute to it every time. And I think it puts unnecessary pressure on their players and, you know, on their fans and the expectations. And it must be horrible. I remember being in a barbecue in Toronto must have been about 15 years ago. And there was a Rangers guy there I was talking to, you know, and it was around about the EBT time, and it was like, and he was trying to be compassionate. Like, it must be horrible supporting Celtic these days, where you just don't splash out money and you don't do this, and you know, and they were in the middle of their like 9 in a row thing at that time, and you know, and it was just one of the weird conversations I was having back then, and I often go back. I still contact him on Facebook. I always get an email back and forward during the season. I was in Italy now, and you know, and just like the sadness and that, and I always remind them. Do you remember what you were telling me at that barbecue? And do you remember like that time? They felt like they were in an ascendancy, and we did feel like there was a way. Okay, we need to figure a way out of this. And that must be the way that they feel right now. Because they're looking at it now, it's like, all right, they've prayed for the angel investor. They've looked for the celebrity investor. Okay, it's not going to be Arnold Palmer or, you know, they've got all sorts of names that were going to come and rescue them. Donald Trump, who knows, right? Coming by this. We'll do it ourselves, and they put share issues out, and that doesn't work. Okay, you know, Super Businessmen's Club, they'll get together, they'll save us. No, it doesn't work. Scottish Referee Association, maybe we'll put pressure on them. They'll save us. Media will save us. I don't know. Something's wrong with Rangers right now. And the fact that their board just stays up one step ahead of them, you know, it's crazy, but it's like we just seem to have our board to fight with. You know, they're the ones that are fighting reality, fighting change, you know, and the ones that we need to sort of prop to do the good thing, whereas Rangers right now, my God, it's coming at them from every angle. You can't see a way. It's like how they're going to build their way out of this. It's not going to be through youth. They're not going to be able to sell anybody. People talking about us buying Butland and all that. I mean, I think O'Reilly's exposed Butland. He can't dive to his left. You know,
he said that about our goalkeeper when he first signed as well, but Joe Hart can't dive to his left. What is it about English goalkeepers? Apparently can't dive to the left. But yeah, Matt O'Reilly's goal last week, and funny enough, it was identical to the goal Stuart Armstrong scored against them in 2017. I think I put it up on Twitter and it got mad traction, the tweet, but it was as soon as the goal went in, it was the first thing I thought was that game when Armstrong scored against them and he just passed into that bottom corner from the same angle, roughly the same spot. And it was like, it's uncanny, the resemblance of it. But that's interesting about Butland. Can he dive to his left? I can't save it to his left. So must be something about English goalkeepers. But that's an interesting one with that one. But let's talk about some. Let's look a wee bit ahead. I know when the last few weeks we've been doing the show and we've looked ahead to people in the chat, one game at a time, guys. But hey, we're champions now. We can look ahead. Let's talk about the E word. Let's talk about Europe, Michael. Let's talk about, because we're in this new Champions League format next season. We're going to be in it, man. We're now guaranteed. And Graham Tyrrell asked earlier on, what would be regarded as a success in Europe next year? And this is the interesting part, because the new format, and one of the things I don't like about it is there are no longer any drop downs to the Europa League if you're in the main competition. So it's not a case of there is a fail safe. If you don't make it to the next round of the Champions League, the knockout stages, you're out. So it's 36 teams are obviously in it. The top 24 will go through into the knockout stages, and from 25th to 36th, they are out, completely out of the tournament. So again, we don't know what fixtures are going to be thrown up. We don't know all the teams that are in it. But yeah, Thomas Burns is exactly right. Finishing 23rd would be a success because it would get us into the knockout stages. But obviously, Brendan Rodgers, Michael, he said when he came back, and it could just be Brendan Rodgers hyperbole, who knows? But he says he wants to come back and make sure Celtic make an impact in Europe and do something in Europe. Obviously, now that Europa League is going to be tough for us to get into. I think the only way we can get in now is either not winning the title, which isn't an option, or I think if the coefficient gets bad again, which I believe it's going to be in a year's time, I think you can lose in the qualifiers and you can drop into the Europa. But I just feel that from our point of view and where we are as a club and where we are in the landscape of European football, I think if we're constantly in this Champions League, I do not see how Celtic ever get a run in this tournament. Getting through to the next round after the 24th there, that would be an achievement. That would be probably the best we could do. And I know it's quite a pessimistic view, but you've got to look at the other teams you'll be up against, the other leagues, the money and whatnot. I think if we do sneak through to the knockout stages in this new format going forward, we're literally there to make up the numbers. But end of the day, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for next season, I know it's early to predict, Michael, but yeah, do you think we've got it in us to get into that top 24 in the Champions League to sneak through, or are we going to be devastated come the Christmas time when the group stages are over?
Well, that all depends on the board, Phil. Realistically, what's the level of their ambition? Are they just happy just to compete again, like this season? Like, I know I'm happy now because of Champions League, but let's be honest, this season has been a slog because they had poor recruitment last summer. It's been made a lot harder than it had to be. So you'd hope lessons have been learned, but have we even got ahead of recruitment yet? Or
it's not been announced if it has. I think there was somebody, Cooper, that was getting a name that was going around, wasn't there? A guy, they dug out his tweets from a while ago where he spotted Valverde, who now plays for Real Madrid, when he was only like under 16s or something like that, playing in South America. Talk about how he's going to play. So I think he's signed or he's a name that's linked with us. I can't remember the exact story, but I don't remember the club putting anything official out to say this is the new head of recruitment.
Right. Well, fair enough. Time will tell, I suppose, but it's got to be on the board. They've got to show the fans something as well after this season. At the end of the day, Phil, we're going to be asked to pay out like £200 for Champions League tickets next season and talk about season ticket increase. Sorry, I'm my tongue's tied there, but so if the club have got to back the manager and give the fans something to look forward to as well, be back the manager, be the funds and signings we need. If we're going to tread the same path again as this season, then they're not interested to compete in Champions League. They'll take the money again and that'll be it. But I hope they're proven wrong. I like the excitement of summer transfer window, I've got to be honest. And you try not to, but sometimes you buy into the rumours and stuff like that and you get excited with them. Then you just hope that maybe this summer we'll have learned from last summer. And I don't know, maybe they will have, but I think only time will tell. I think we'll know come middle August how well we'll do the Champions League with the level of recruitment.
Yeah. And
if anything's changed, really. If we carry on the same recruitment drive and the same template of signings of project players for the 2 or 3 million bracket, then that's just showing they're just happy to take our money and take the money for the Champions League and bank it and don't really show any ambition. So I still hope we will. I hope lessons have been learned and we'll get enough money there, but need to start spending money and showing better signs of recruitment, getting better scouting network up and going, and not just relying like I said before, nepotism, like relative distractions, relatives of lowbells, things like that. We need to go after the best guys. And like you said, if this guys, I haven't even heard them, but if it's people that we're bringing in.
Stephen Ray's saying in the comment down there, saying Mark Cooper's a Celtic fan who lives in Argentina and is a full-time football scout. He's done pods with him on the Celtic Underground, and Graham Tyrrell also says he just Googled it. Apparently, we've given Mark Cooper a job, former South American talent spotter. Say people are digging out the tweets that he outlined Federico Valverde a while ago when he was an under-16, and he's an outstanding player for Real Madrid, but yeah, I mean, our record in South America, our last signing from there was Alessandro Bernabei, and the less said about that one, the better. So it wouldn't be bad to have a scout that knows the market down there, because some seriously good talent to be found. But yeah, you're right in what you're saying. It's all going to be what they do this summer. But yeah, the target will be to finish 24th out of the 36 and get through to the knockout stages and keep yourself in it. I was going to say after Christmas, but I'm led to believe that the new format, the group stage, even though it's one league, makes sense of that, actually runs until January. So that it's like it's not like it ends in December and then you've got a wee break until February or whatever. So like, no, apparently this will run all the way to January, then it'll just continue on from there because obviously more games, more rounds, so it won't be spread out, I think. So yeah, it's going to be 8 games. We'll see. Some sort of supercomputer is going to be doing it. You won't get the tedious draw anymore, folks. So them standing there with all the pots, taking all the names I had, because yeah, it's going to be very, very convoluted. Even it'll be 9 teams in each pot, essentially. You'll get 2 teams from each one. You'll play 2 teams from the first seeds, 2 teams from the second seeds, 2 from the 3 and 2 from 4. So that's your 8 games. And yeah, I think at the moment, because obviously not all the teams are decided, I saw a thing the other night showing you the projected pots as it stands right now. And of course, Celtic are just in pot 3, but that can change. But I don't think it really matters what pot we're in. I think it's going to be, there's going to be a lot of tough games. There's going to be teams in pot 4 that are going to be dangerous anyway, even if we are in the 3rd pot. But yeah, we'll just need to wait and see when that draw comes along. And yeah, we'll just see who we get. Although one team that I'm already outlining I'd like us to get would be Aston Villa, because Aston Villa qualified. I think the English teams, the big English teams that qualify on the regular, I think their fans have become kind of sterilised to the Champions League. They're just kind of like, whatever. It's an inconvenience to them. But see, because Aston Villa are new to it, I think they'll be like, it'll be quite exciting for them. So yeah, and plus, well, I say it could be famous last words. I think we could compete okay against them. But yeah, that'll come back to haunt me if we do draw them, no doubt. Anyway, we'll look forward to the Champions League when it does roll around. Liam, before we came on, you wanted to talk about a subject this week that will have an effect on Scottish football. There's a new head of the referees. Apparently, he's one of our own as well, if sources are to be believed. But yes, our brother, Willie Collum, is now the head of the referees. Crawford Allen, he is Offski. And yeah, Willie Collum was announced. As you can imagine, those on the other side of the city took that news well. A referee who they have put in multiple complaints about. They have had him banned from refereeing their games over long periods of time, is now the guy that's the head of the referees. I'm sure that will come back to haunt them. But yeah, you wanted to talk about it before we came on, Liam, so the floor is yours, my man.
Aye, I was just looking at that. What a bizarre decision that is. Here's a guy that disappeared for about almost a calendar year for refereeing a Rangers game, to now popping up as being the head of the referees. And this was after he had a Celtic Rangers game where he wasn't exactly great. You know, he took a tackle that was a yellow that everybody on the planet except Kenny Miller could see was a red, and somehow thought only merited a yellow. He watched, was it Diamande, run up behind Hatate, trying to chase him down, and not trying to pull him back, not trying to push him forward, but deliver an elbow strike to the back of his head or his back that would get you disqualified for most mixed martial art competitions. But not only will he seen it, he didn't think that merited even a yellow card. And so this guy is now ahead of the Scottish Referees Association. And it just makes no sense. And just with the way the Celtic board, you know, conduct their business, so does Scottish football, where there's no conversation about this. There's no explanation. You know, at some point, you know, just to sort of lift the veil and so they don't look as crooked as fuck, send somebody out. And, you know, it'd be great to have like a one-on-one interview with Willie Collum and just sort of outline his philosophies, what he thinks Scottish football is, what he thinks he's going to bring to the game as a head of the referees, how he's going to use that to sort of like navigate our way through what's happening with VAR, you know, and just show it as a transparency that we're actually playing the same game, because a lot of times when I'm watching him, he lets thuggish behaviour go to such an extent where you're really questioning what sport we're playing, and yet a player will just get a nudge and fall down on the ball, and you'll immediately see that as a foul. You see that as a foul. So it would be a really good idea for him to just sort of like clarify some intent of how he sees us moving forward with the refereeing of Scottish football. And I think that would be a brilliant thing for him to come out with, because he won't be on the limelight and in the park, but he can sure as hell explain just to the common fan that are paying money and investing in the game, just some sort of an explanation, or show us some value of why the Scottish Football Association made that decision to appoint Willie Collum as a head of the referees, because I don't see it, and I don't know what he's done to merit it. So, you know, come out and tell us what you want to do. Yeah, great. I'd tune into that. We'll get him on the bus. We'd love to get him on the.
Apparently he's one of our own, so maybe he'd be up for it. Who knows? There was talk. The thing is, Liam, there was a headline a couple of weeks ago before he was announced about they were looking at maybe somebody coming up from England to be the new head of referees, which I suppose would make some sort of sense because it's a more neutral head essentially. But yeah, it's a sort of old pals act. And all jokes aside, they can say what they want about Willie Collum's loyalties and whatnot. He's just not a very good referee, to be honest. He just isn't, and none of them are good. The problem stems to the very fact that it's not a full-time profession up here. It's part-time. And down in England, they have got full-time referees, and even they're not perfect, to be honest. But yeah, up here, Collum's not particularly good. He's had a lot of clangers over the years against us and against them and against multiple other teams as well. He's not exactly a very popular referee with many sets of fans around the country. With some of the stuff that he does, he definitely reeks of a guy that's got main character syndrome. He definitely likes to make it all about him at times. So now it is all about him because he is now the head of all the referees. But yeah, he's also been appointed. And as I though, from their point of view across the city, they've obviously had some things to say about him over the years. So we'll see what happens now going forward. Now that he's the one in charge of appointing referees and whatnot. So what can he bring to the table? Who knows?
Who did the co-commentary on the weekend? Was it Kenny Miller?
Kenny Miller with Chris Sutton and Ian Crocker.
He was losing the place completely because there was an exchange where Willie Collum was shouting at one of the players, and he just went absolutely pure crazy. And you could see that anger, and you could just hear Kenny Miller squeaking, "Why is he so angry? Why is he so angry? He's always really angry." Oh, it's fucking hilarious, man.
Well, Kenny Miller made a lot of headlines last week for his outburst. That was extraordinary, that one. I was coming back for the game, and one of my mates was in the car, and he said he was checking his phone. He says people on Twitter are saying that Kenny Miller's having an absolute mad one. He's absolutely out of control. And I was like, well, I couldn't contemplate or vision in my head what exactly was happening. And then I came back and PMP was on, and people in the live chat were saying Kenny Miller. Then Russell and Terry brought it up, and I was like, I need to go and see this for myself. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't get my head around what is he not getting. That is a red card. As Chris Sutton said, Kenneth, that'd be a red card in the 1970s. And it was a barbaric challenge. It was mental, and he just wouldn't back down. He was doubling down. So you see on the bus, don't back down, double down. And he certainly was. But something else before we move on to getting our final thoughts on the game about the referee stuff, Michael. Obviously in England, down south, and we actually got a resident viewer who is a Newcastle fan, and he's Corvo's coming in saying, don't get me started on the referees down here. So he can probably give us some insight. But next month in England, they are having a vote on whether to scrap VAR for next season. Apparently, Wolverhampton Wanderers have triggered this meeting that they're having at the next AGM, and it's going to be a talking point. So they need 14 out of the 20 clubs to vote in favour to get rid of it. And I wonder if they do, will Scotland follow suit? Although I did see a stat today that apparently Wolverhampton Wanderers have been the most the biggest victims of mistakes from VAR. Going back this season, apparently they've had 17 that have went against them that shouldn't have, when VAR got it wrong. So I can understand why it's them that have triggered this, but I will be interested to see the result. If England decide to get rid of it, will we follow suit? What do you think? Do you think a day will come? Because for me personally, I think VAR is here to stay, as much as I would love to see it go. But again, it's the people that are running it, Michael, that's the problem. And how do you fix that? Maybe Willie Collum will fix it for us, Michael. Maybe that's the answer. Maybe Willie Collum's going to fix it.
If Willie Collum's going to fix anything in Scottish football, we're in trouble. Simple as that. But no, I don't know how it's going to go in England, but I would personally get rid of it. Even last week, he was scoring a goal. You're taking 3 and 4 minutes right after. You got to the stage of not even celebrating goals properly now, because you're always mindful. They're going to check every phase of play before the goal. It kills any enjoyment of the game, stuff like that. And I don't know the politics behind it, whether the SFA not even thinking about it, if it's even a viable option up here, depending on the vote in England. But personally, I would get rid of it. It's killing the emotion in the game. It's just the games are taking too long for a start as well. Talking 5 minutes at the end of the first half and 5 minutes into the second half for everyone. And it's just taking too long in between the instances in the game. And I think it's just killing the atmosphere. So I would personally get rid of it. Don't know, maybe a few times this season, but like the one last week, with obviously tackle on Johnson with Lundstrom. That's benefited us, but referees should be trained better. They should be trained to be better referees rather than re-refereeing games while they're playing. Referee them to be at a better standard and get the decisions right first time rather than relying and always go to VAR to check everything. It's a lazy way out for me, and it's just killing the atmosphere. Train it, get the referees full time, train them to be better referees off their own backs, and raise the standard that way rather than running through everything through video and just killing the atmosphere altogether. I would get rid of it. It's just killing the game up here for me. It's just the atmosphere and everyone's stifled now because you can't even celebrate goals of it anymore. That's just the way it's going, and I get rid of it in a heartbeat personally.
One of the biggest rules, one of my biggest pet hates, is I find myself asking, what is the point in the linesman anymore for the offsides? Because they're told to allow it to play out, and then they put their flag up after they've stuck the ball in the net because VAR is going to check it anyway. So it's like, well, what's the point in you running the line if VAR is going to check all these things anyway? To me, I don't know. That came in during the Euros, the last Euros in 2021, where there was a lot of goals that got scored where they go through, they put the ball in the net, and suddenly the linesman then puts his flag up instead of just flag up right away. But they're instructed. To me, it just feels like, well, if they're instructed to just play until the whistle, essentially, till the ball is out of play or in the net, there's no point in the linesman being there to raise his flag. So that's one of the ones that really infuriates me. And you are right about the emotion, the goals and stuff like that. At times you don't know whether to celebrate. There's other times where I've seen us concede a goal and I've genuinely just been like, VAR will probably chop it off. The Aberdeen goal in the cup game the other week, Majowski scored after a couple of minutes. I was like, this is clearly going to be offside. VAR is going to step in. And then, of course, VAR didn't, and it was onside. So, yeah, shows what I know. But then, of course, Kyogo equalises no long after. Oh, no, Kyogo wins the ball, and the guy goes down. The defender goes down. So my first thought when Kuhn put the ball in the net on the second ball, I thought, VAR is going to pull this back. So you didn't know whether to celebrate or not. So you're totally right. It is killing the emotion. And I did read the statement that Wolves put out, obviously bringing this this meeting up, they want to charge it. That was one of the things they talked about in the things to get rid of VAR, about how it is killing the emotion for fans in stadiums and all that. So we'll see what they do. Say Scotland usually follows suit with what England do, so it'll be interesting if they do vote for it. The consensus from things that I've read online is the media down south think it won't go, but they're going to have to find ways to improve it. And I think it makes me wonder, there must be countries around Europe that must do it right, like Germany or Spain or something. There's not countries that we can learn from as to how they're doing it, how they utilise it. I'll be interested to see how it gets used at the Euros this summer as well. I know at the World Cup, I think the World Cup final in particular between Argentina and France, they were applauded the referee team because they didn't consult VAR once for any of the decisions. If you remember that game, it was a mad one that ended 3-3 and went to a penalty shootout. It's like not once did they have to delay the game for VAR. So it's like, well, if they can do it there, let's see what we can learn. But I say it's still a long way off before we perfect it up here. And yeah, I guess we're just stuck with it for the time being. But on to more positive things then before we finish, guys, because we are just hitting the hour just now. Let's quickly talk about tomorrow's game and what we think is going to happen, because I think in terms of the team, for me, I would just put out not a totally rotated team, maybe a couple of fringe players, but ultimately he's going to have next week in mind as well. You want to keep that momentum going, because at the end of the day, we've gone on a great run since dropping points at Ibrox. Where the last loss we had was to Hearts, that infamous game at Tynecastle. We've been on a great run since then. You want to keep it going to get that feel-good factor still going into the cup final next week. So for me, I don't think you'll take too many chances with the lineup. Maybe Idah starts again. Would that even be deemed a chance? I don't really think so. And I think we'll get a nice comprehensive victory. As I said earlier on, we tend to put on a show on Trophy Day. And yeah, I'll say 5-0. 5-0 on. Usually I'm always very conservative with my predictions on this show. We 2-0 or something. No, I think we'll finish with a flourish. I'll say 5 tomorrow. Michael, what about you?
I'm saying 5 as well, and I'm going to go Kyogo first goal again. I don't even know if he'll start, but it feels every minute I don't pick Kyogo first goal and sure as fate will happen. But I think 5-0 will be a good performance. But I don't think it'll change very much. Honestly, I think I would want to keep the momentum going for the cup final. Because sometimes you start changing things, it becomes a bit stop-start. But I think it'll be much the same lineup. Maybe even drop Carter Vickers just to make sure, because they took a ban during the week, didn't they?
He was having a good time as well the other night, I see. Yeah.
So I think even just to maybe drop him and bring in like Nerowski or something, because there's enough in game really. But I think 5-0, and I'm going to be man first goal. He's got to do it for me one week. So I bet him maybe the last 6 weeks or something.
You're always picking Kyogo first scorer, so it's got to happen eventually.
Always once this season for me, please. So 5-0.
Yeah. Do it for Michael. And Liam, what about yourself for tomorrow? What's your score prediction?
5-0. I'm going with the magic
5.
number. And and then I've only one player I want to see tomorrow, and that's 2, Joe Hart. But I also want to see the middle of the field, and want to see James McCarthy come on for Callum McGregor and just sort of salute the fans, just to let us know he's okay, and he's all right. A lot of people don't see them and worry if we can't have Kate Middleton. We want James McCarthy to make a show tomorrow. Just let us know you're right. Give a wave.
Yes, that's right. You said that earlier a few months back. You said, what we're going to see first, Kate Middleton come out of hiding or James McCarthy come out of hiding? Which one are we going to see first? It's still debatable.
Greg Taylor, captain for the day as well for Liam.
Aye, Greg Taylor, captain.
I think I'd like to see that tomorrow as well. Do like to see him get a goal? I think he's played better, but he's still weak in every position. Well, I talk about Greg Taylor and that, and I don't know. I think he needs strengthening. Hey, just one other thing before I go off. I looked at the poster that they brought out, the Champions poster. Mm-hmm. David Turner on it, and I think, okay, well maybe it's because it's away, but Rocco Vata's on it, Bernabei's on it. There's other players there, Mikey Johnson's on it, and I was like, I wonder how they. I can't find Tate. Like he's done a Where's Waldo, and I can't find him. Where's Turnbull? Or they've somehow left him off. I just thought that was weird.
He's contributed as well. I mean, he also get a winner's medal sent to him as well because he's contributed to the first half of this season. He did
7 goals, Phil.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Right. I think it's because the rest are still contracted, though, is it not? The rest are just away on loan. They're still contractually Celtic players, so the Turnbull's away.
Aye. It'll be interesting.
That's something I can't think about.
We'll see them at the final tomorrow is the first time, and then we'll see maybe next year. But I'll be looking for him at the celebrations. I want to see if James McCarthy's on the park. What a fucking cheek. Oh.
John Terry effort.
Imagine, here's a wee interesting thought, a funny thought to end on, just a funny vision. If we're winning quite convincingly tomorrow, which I think we will be, and let's say we get a penalty quite late on in the game, does Joe Hart step up to redeem himself from the penalty shootout? Will St Mirren find that disrespectful? God, could you imagine if we did that? I don't think we would. I think, but it would be quite funny at the same time. But I'd imagine St Mirren would be like, oh, so disrespectful. To be fair, how we take penalties, probably miss anyway. It would just be quite hilarious if that happened. Reminds me when Izagiri nearly scored a hat-trick. Remember there was a game against Dundee? Izagiri scored 2, then we got a penalty. He stepped up for the hat-trick and ballooned it into the stands.
That's right. Yeah.
That would be probably something. If we actually tried to pull that off tomorrow, we'll win and say 5-0 or something. We get a penalty and Joe Hart comes forward to take it, balloons it into the stands. I just feel like it's not meant to be. And people are also saying, Santa. We'll see if that one happens tomorrow as well. There's a lot of fans shouting for Santa to make an appearance tomorrow and present the trophy or do the halftime windfall to make up for that very dark day in December. Oh man, that was tough that day. But yeah, we'll see. I think it's quite an open goal for the club. I think they just got to put it in the net here for that one. But yeah, we'll see what they do tomorrow. It'll all be fun and games. And again, fun being optional word. But yes, we're out of here, folks. As I've done an hour and 5 minutes on this Friday feeling. And yeah, we'll be back next week for a cup final one as well. It could be a double next weekend as well. So So yes, folks, we're out of here. Enjoy the game tomorrow, wherever you watch it. If you're at the stadium, whatever, enjoy it. And yeah, look out for PMP tomorrow, and we shall catch you later. See you, folks.
You know.